Along Florida's highways, men keep vanishing. Abandoned cars, bodies in the woods, a killer no one saw coming. What kind of monster was hunting them? This is Murder at Midnight, December 1st, 1989, Volusia County, Florida. A deputy stumbles upon Richard Mallory's abandoned car parked near a quiet stretch of road. The vehicle stands out, eerily alone on the roadside. Its doors are shut and the windows are rolled up. Yet the absence of life around it sends a chill through the air. An unsettling vibe hangs heavy, hinting that something is very wrong. The dull roar of the nearby ocean contrasts sharply with the stillness of the scene, amplifying the tension that starts to grip the deputy. Mallory hasn't been seen for days, and this discovery raises immediate alarms. The deputy, sensing the seriousness of the situation, now checks inside the car for clues. He finds nothing out of the ordinary. No signs of struggle or personal belongings left behind. The seats are empty and the dashboard is untouched. Still, an uneasy feeling settles in his stomach. He can't shake the thought that this isn't just an ordinary case of a car left behind. He radios for backup, knowing they need to dig deeper into this mystery. As twilight descends, long shadows stretch across the ground, creating an eerie atmosphere. The rustling leaves whisper secrets, a reminder of nature's indifference, while something darker lurks nearby. The sun sinks lower, casting cold hues over the landscape, while the salty breeze carries an ominous feeling. Friends and family of Mallory grow increasingly worried. They know he wouldn't just vanish without a trace, and his absence begins to weigh heavily on their hearts. The heavy silence is punctuated only by the distant sound of waves crashing, a sharp contrast to the turmoil brewing in the minds of those who know him. Days pass and the search ramps up. Volunteers join law enforcement, distributing flyers with Mallory's picture throughout the neighborhoods. People gather, sharing stories and memories of him, hoping that their collective efforts might spark a lead. The sense of community is clear as they come together in their shared concern, their voices a mixture of hope and dread. Meanwhile, the deputy's report draws attention to this missing person case. It marks the beginning of a haunting story that will unravel in shocking ways. The uncertainty grows. Everyone is desperate for answers. The anxiety tangibly in every whispered conversation. The investigation picks up steam. Authorities comb the area around the abandoned vehicle, searching for anything that might lead them to Mallory. Officers interview locals, hoping someone might have seen or heard something unusual. Each day without a sign of him deepens the mystery. The clock ticks ominously, and with each passing hour, the hope of finding him safe begins to fade. Friends recall the last time they saw him, a casual goodbye, a promise to catch up soon. They can't shake the feeling that something sinister has occurred, a shadow looming over their memories. As days turn into weeks, anxiety shifts to fear. They gather at a local diner, sharing meals and memories, but the laughter is laced with worry. The coffee is strong, but it does little to ease their minds. They exchange glances filled with unspoken fears, knowing that the longer Mallory remains missing, the more likely it is that something terrible has happened. The weight of their concern hangs heavy in the air, thickening with each moment of silence. On December 13th, a significant break in the case occurs. A search team, still focused on finding Mallory, discovers a body several miles away in a wooded area. The news travels fast, sending shockwaves through the community. Everyone holds their breath, fearing the worst. The body is identified as Richard Mallory. He had been shot multiple times. Friends and family struggle to come to terms with the reality of his death. Disbelief washes over them. They can hardly comprehend that someone they knew is gone. The atmosphere is thick with sorrow, and the community is left grappling with their grief. As investigators piece together the timeline of Mallory's last known movements, they uncover more disturbing details. The abandoned vehicle, once a simple clue, now becomes a focal point in a larger investigation. Tension fills the community, brimming with questions that have no answers. Who could have done this? Why? The fear begins to seep into every corner of their lives, a constant reminder of their vulnerability. With each passing day, more information surfaces. Mallory's death isn't isolated, but part of a troubling pattern along Florida's highways. Police delve deeper, seeking connections between Mallory and other missing persons. The sense of unease grows, and the realization dawns that a dangerous predator might be lurking among them. Each new discovery feels like a piece of a puzzle that only leads to more questions, the pieces refusing to fit together in a way that makes sense. As the investigation unfolds, authorities begin to connect the dots. Aileen Wuornos emerges as a potential suspect, a name that will soon be linked to this dark chapter in Florida's history. Friends and family of Mallory, still reeling from their loss, now grapple with the possibility that a serial killer could be on the loose. The thought sends chills down their spines, the horror of the situation settling in. With the investigation gaining momentum, the search for Wuornos begins. Police look for leads, tracking her movements and sifting through reports of encounters with other men along the highways, hoping to find something that links her to Mallory. Tension thickens in the community. As fear and uncertainty hang heavily in the air, the very roads that were once familiar and safe now feel tainted, a reminder of the danger that lurks just beyond their sight. The discovery of Richard Mallory's abandoned vehicle marked the start of an investigation that would reveal a series of crimes. Each new piece of evidence deepens the darkness of the story. The quest for clarity becomes a race against time as authorities and the community alike confront the reality of a killer among them. As they navigate this maze of fear and uncertainty, the urge for justice grows stronger, pushing them to seek answers. As the scene unfolds, feelings of grief and anxiety are felt throughout the area. Friends and family cling to memories of happier times while facing the harsh truth that their lives have forever changed. The search for justice begins, but the road ahead will be fraught with challenges. The community holds its breath, waiting for answers and hoping for closure, yet knowing that the shadows of doubt will linger long after the truth is revealed. The narrative is set, and the troubling journey has only just begun. December 13th, a grim discovery shakes the community. Richard Mallory's body is found several miles away in a wooded area marked by multiple gunshot wounds. This raises alarms about a potential serial killer lurking in the shadows of this quiet town. The surrounding woods stand eerily still, tall trees bearing witness to the horror. Police arrive, their expressions grave as they approach the scene. They take in the shocking details. Mallory lies there, and the weight of the moment settles heavily on them. And the realization hits hard, reverberating through the small department as they grasp the implications of what they've uncovered. As the investigation unfolds, officers can't shake the feeling that this is merely the beginning. Friends and family receive the devastating news, disbelief washing over them. How could this happen here? Mallory was loved by many. His sudden disappearance had already troubled those close to him, and now the discovery of his body deepens the sense of loss. Just days earlier, his abandoned car had been found on the roadside, a foreboding sign that something was wrong. Initially, police thought it might just be a case of a man in trouble, but now, with a body on their hands, they realize they need to dig deeper. Each detail they gather adds weight to the investigation, hinting at a dangerous pattern. And anxiety grips the community, a noticeable unease settling in. Concerned neighbours and friends bombard the police with questions. Who could commit such a heinous act? They demand to know who is responsible for this tragedy. Fully aware of the growing fear, the police work tirelessly to gather evidence and construct a timeline. As they comb through the area for clues, bullet casings are discovered nearby. Each casing tells a story of violence, amplifying the urgency of their mission. The officers understand that this is no longer just about one man. They are potentially facing a serial killer. The thought sends chills down their spines, and they feel the weight of their responsibility to the community. In the midst of their efforts, investigators interview witnesses, hoping to find anyone who might have seen Mallory in the days leading up to his death. They learn he'd been meeting people along the highways, a fact that raises alarm bells. The highways are not just thoroughfares, they are also places where danger can hide. Police begin mapping out Mallory's last known movements, searching for connections. As days pass, the community's unease deepens. Families lock their doors tighter at night, and whispers of danger circulate among friends. The police hold press conferences, urging anyone with information to step forward. They assure the public they are doing everything possible to find the person responsible, but the answers remain frustratingly out of reach. A few days later, the community is rocked again. Another body is discovered. This time, it's another victim, found in a remote area. The news spreads quickly, igniting panic. The investigation is no longer just about Mallory. It now encompasses multiple victims. With each new discovery, the police realize they're dealing with a serial killer. A pattern is forming that cannot be ignored. Officers work around the clock, sifting through evidence and leads, desperate to uncover the identity of the person behind these brutal killings. The fear in the community is real. People start avoiding travel alone, especially along the highways where the victims were last seen. Friends and families band together, sharing tips and warnings, trying to protect one another from the unknown threat. As the investigation unfolds, the police find themselves overwhelmed by the sheer volume of leads and tips pouring in. They sift through countless interviews, searching for a common thread. Each piece of information feels like a jigsaw puzzle that refuses to fit together. Yet they press on, knowing that every second counts. In the weeks that follow, more bodies come to light. Each discovery deepens the horror. Victims like Charles Carskadden and Troy Burris are found, each murdered in a similar manner. The police connect the dots, realizing they are pursuing a killer who is becoming bolder with each crime. The community watches in fear, feeling as if they are trapped in a nightmare. Police increase patrols along the highways, hoping to deter the killer and reassure the public. It's a race against time, a desperate attempt to catch someone who seems to be slipping through their fingers. The atmosphere is thick with dread. Residents can't shake the feeling that danger lurks just outside their doors. They want answers, justice, and a return to safety. The police remain focused, determined to piece together the evidence and bring the killer to justice. As the investigation continues, the story grows darker. With each new victim, the questions multiply, and the urgency to uncover the truth intensifies. The community stands on edge, waiting for the moment when the killer will finally be caught. In the shadows of this investigation, the truth awaits discovery. What will it take to bring this nightmare to an end? The search for answers presses on. The next chapter in this chilling tale is just ahead. The body of David Spears is found in a remote area, lying in the tall grass. He has been shot multiple times. The scene is chilling, and police quickly arrive, confronted with yet another victim in a disturbing series of disappearances. This discovery adds a grim chapter to a growing list of violent events that have plagued the region. David has been missing for days. His family is frantic, searching everywhere for him. They have no idea of the tragedy that has unfolded. Friends and loved ones spend countless hours calling his phone, driving around town, and posting on social media, desperately seeking any sign of him. The anxiety in their voices is undeniable as they recount their efforts to anyone who will listen. Officers examining the scene realize they are witnessing a pattern of violence, one that suggests a tragic fate shared by multiple men. Around them, the sounds of the forest fill the air, leaves rustling, birds chirping, and a distant dog barking. This serene backdrop feels almost mocking against the horror of the discovery. Each victim adds urgency to the investigation, and with every new body found, the sense of dread deepens. The realization that a predator is on the loose becomes undeniable. David's death is not an isolated case. His story now intertwines with a troubling trend that law enforcement cannot ignore. The police begin to connect the dots, noting that other men have vanished under similar circumstances. Each victim tells a story, and now David's story contributes to a much darker narrative unfolding across Florida. Families are left with unanswered questions and a growing sense of despair. The urgency escalates as officers know they must act quickly. Pressure mounts from grieving families demanding answers. What is happening on those highways? Who is behind these brutal acts? Investigators sift through evidence, searching for clues that could lead them to the perpetrator. They understand that every moment counts in preventing another tragedy. Officers canvass the area, interviewing locals and anyone who might have seen something unusual. They collect statements, piecing together a timeline of David's last known movements. The strain of the investigation hangs heavy in the air. The community's fear and anger simmer just below the surface. This situation is not just about solving a crime, it's about restoring a sense of safety that has been shattered. In the days following the discovery of a body, the investigation intensifies. Officers scour the highways for any sign of suspicious activity. Checkpoints are established and patrols increase, hoping to deter potential threats. Yet, the landscape of the community shifts. People become more vigilant, acutely aware of their surroundings. Conversations change from casual small talk to urgent discussions about safety and the looming threat that seems to lurk just out of sight. The grim reality is that the victim is one of several men who have vanished, only to be found lifeless in distant woods. His case, like the others, reveals a chilling pattern. Law enforcement begins compiling information about previous victims, connecting their stories in a way that paints a disturbing picture. Each name on the list serves as a reminder of lives cut short, families torn apart, and a community in turmoil. As the investigation unfolds, police receive tips and leads, some promising, others less so. Every piece of information is scrutinized, every witness interviewed. Officers chase down every lead, hoping to find a thread that could unravel the mystery. But with each passing day, the pressure mounts. The community grows restless, and the media begins to take notice. News reports flood in, capturing public attention and sparking outrage and fear. Behind the scenes, detectives work tirelessly, poring over evidence and witness statements late into the night. They review surveillance footage, hoping to catch a glimpse of something that might lead them to the killer. The strain of the investigation weighs heavily on them, and they know that every second counts. Driven not only by duty, but by the desire to bring justice to grieving families, they continue to push forward. The search for answers continues, leaving the community to grapple with the harsh reality of the situation. Each new detail that emerges from the investigation brings a mix of hope and despair. They cling to the hope that the police will find those responsible, but the fear of what could happen next looms large. As days turn into weeks, the sense of urgency only grows stronger. Amidst this turmoil, the stories of the victims begin to intertwine, creating a complex web of tragedy. Each man had a life that mattered, a family that loved him, and a future stolen away. The impact of their losses ripples through the community, affecting friendships, relationships, and the very fabric of their lives. The discovery of the body marks a critical turning point. It is not just another statistic, it is a call to action. The police recognize they must dig deeper, push harder, and connect the dots before more lives are lost. And the tension in the air is thick, and everyone understands that time is running out. The search for justice is just beginning, and the disturbing question remains, who will be next? With this story now woven into this unfolding nightmare, the community braces itself for what lies ahead. A body is discovered in a secluded area, further intensifying the investigation into the murders. A team of investigators moves cautiously through the secluded area, their hearts heavy, with the weight of what they might uncover. What they find sends chills down their spines. The lifeless body lies concealed beneath a thin layer of leaves, hidden from the world. The scene is grim. He has been shot multiple times, a clear reminder of the violence lurking beneath the surface of everyday life. Each detail reveals a brutal reality, raising more questions than answers as the investigators grasp the severity of the situation. Local authorities have been on high alert for weeks, piecing together a troubling pattern connecting a series of missing men and brutal murders. While Carskadden is just another name added to the growing list of victims, his death represents a chilling escalation in the violence. Friends and family are left reeling, grappling with disbelief and sorrow. How could this happen to someone they knew? The townspeople are shaken, struggling to reconcile the loss with the person they loved. The brutality of these crimes seems almost unimaginable, and the psychological impact is heavy. Detectives comb through the area, searching for clues that might lead them to a suspect. They sift through leaves and debris, hoping for any piece of evidence that could tie back to the murderer. The atmosphere is tense, filled with urgency. Local residents watch closely, fear spreading. They begin to connect the dots, realizing that the danger is real. An ominous presence hovers over the town, casting shadows on their daily lives. With someone targeting their loved ones, a sense of vulnerability settles in. As the investigation unfolds, detectives review the details of other victims found in recent months. Each case adds to a growing timeline of terror along Florida's highways, creating a patchwork of tragedy that is hard to ignore. The names of the victims whose bodies were discovered in the weeks prior haunt the community. The police department feels the pressure mounting, determined to catch whoever is behind these horrors. Yet, the path to justice is fraught with uncertainty. In the days following the discovery of Carskadden's body, the case intensifies. Officers interview friends, family, and anyone who might have information, seeking to unravel the connections linking these men. Were they last seen in the same areas? Did they share similar lifestyles? Each conversation uncovers new leads, but also deepens the mystery. Detectives realize they are not just dealing with random acts of violence. A disturbing pattern suggests a predator is at work. During the heart of the investigation, detectives are haunted by the faces of the victims. They visit families, offering condolences, while also gathering information. It's a delicate balance, comforting those in grief while seeking the truth. The emotional load of these visits is heavy, where each family shares memories of laughter and love, now overshadowed by tragedy. The detectives listen intently, knowing that every detail could be a piece of the puzzle they desperately need. Meanwhile, local residents rally together, holding vigils and discussing safety. Neighbours exchange tips on how to stay alert, sharing concerns about the rising violence. There's a collective sense of unease as people realise the highways they once travelled without a second thought have become a hunting ground for a killer. Friends and families of the victims band together, demanding justice and answers. They urge the police to act quickly, desperate to feel safe again. As the case unfolds, detectives meticulously review surveillance footage from gas stations and convenience stores along the routes where the victims were last seen. They analyse the recordings, searching for any sign of suspicious activity or potential witnesses. The hours spent in front of screens feel endless, with each frame holding the potential for vital clues. The pressure mounts as time passes. The longer the case remains unsolved, the more the townspeople's fear grows. Investigators know they are racing against the clock. Amid this turmoil, detectives begin to compile a profile of the potential suspect. They analyse the victims' backgrounds, trying to identify any common traits or habits. This process is both fascinating and unsettling, as they piece together the characteristics of someone capable of such acts. The team understands they are looking for someone who can blend into the community, someone who can hide in plain sight while committing acts of violence. And the search for answers becomes a community affair, with residents eager to help in any way they can. Flyers go up around town, and tips flood into the police station. Everyone wants to contribute, to feel like they're doing something to help solve the mystery. The detectives appreciate the support, but also recognise the growing frustration among local residents. They are all waiting for a breakthrough, something that will finally connect the dots and lead them to the person responsible for these events. As days turn into weeks, the case continues to evolve. Each new piece of information adds to the complexity of the investigation. With every discovery, the urgency to find justice for the victims intensifies. The police remain focused. You're driven by the need to bring closure to grieving families and restore a sense of safety to the community. Yet with each passing day, the mystery deepens, leaving everyone wondering what will come next. Where will this inquiry lead? What revelations lie ahead? The search for justice is just beginning. On a scorching July day, law enforcement officers discover an abandoned vehicle. It's left behind in a secluded area, quiet and still. The officers step out, gravel crunching underfoot, and survey the surroundings. The only sound is the distant chirping of cicadas. Soon, more officers arrive, their radios crackling as they search for clues to explain the vehicle's sudden abandonment. Inside, they find a palm print on the door handle, and a realization follows. This print matches a name, already echoing through the ongoing investigation. This discovery sends police racing back to their offices, piecing together a troubling puzzle that leads them deeper into the shadows. As investigators dig into the case, a clearer picture of the individual begins to emerge. Friends and family describe him as lively and adventurous, recalling his infectious laughter and how he could light up a room with his stories. But now, a dark cloud of uncertainty looms. His body has not been found, and the worry is undeniable. What could have happened to him? As days turn into weeks, hope starts to dwindle, replaced by a creeping fear that he might not return. The once vibrant memories of his laughter turn bittersweet, overshadowed by the uncertainty. Detectives are armed with this new evidence, feel a pressing urgency. They know they're onto something significant, yet the lack of a body complicates matters. Search teams comb through the nearby woods, exploring every nook and cranny for signs of the missing individual. The air grows thick with tension, and the pressure mounts as they realize time is against them. With each passing day, the absence of answers weighs heavier, deepening the mystery and growing the community's anxiety. Residents whisper about the fate of the missing person, their imaginations running wild with possibilities. Doubt thickens the atmosphere as friends gather, sharing stories and voicing their fears. They can't shake the feeling that something terrible has happened. Meanwhile, investigators work tirelessly, chasing every lead, but it feels like grasping at thin air. Each piece of information they uncover only adds layers to the enigma. They wonder if Aileen Wuornos is linked to Peter's disappearance, or if she's just a name in a larger, darker story. The detectives know they need to connect the dots quickly, but with every turn, they face more questions than answers. In the shadows of this investigation, Wuornos continues to navigate her world, evading the authorities. She moves through Florida's highways, seemingly unnoticed, while police unravel the threads of her past. The discovery of her palm print in a car raises questions. How did it end up there? What connection does she have to Peter Seams? The detectives are determined to find answers, but they grapple with more questions than solutions. Each new detail about her life reveals a complex woman with a troubled history, as yet it does little to clarify her role in this unfolding tragedy. The search for Peter Seams becomes more desperate. His friends and family organise search parties, combing through the dense woods, calling out his name, hoping for a response. The sound of their voices echoes in the stillness, but they find nothing. Every rustle in the underbrush makes their hearts race, yet silence remains. The absence of closure weighs heavily on them, and the uncertainty gnaws at their minds. Was he abducted? Did he meet with foul play? Each theory is more chilling than the last, and the fear of the worst hangs in the air. As the investigation continues, police gather more information about Aileen Wuornos. They learn about her troubled past, her struggles, and her encounters with men along the highways. And each detail paints a picture of a woman who has lived a hard life, but it doesn't provide the clarity they desperately need. Who is she really? Is she a victim of circumstances, or is she the predator they fear? The detectives are increasingly aware of the stakes, and the community watches closely, waiting for a breakthrough. They know that solving this case could mean uncovering a larger pattern, but each day without answers feels like a step backward. Relentless, police gather evidence, interview witnesses, and piece together Wuornos' timeline. The sense of urgency escalates, and they know they must act quickly. With every new detail, the web of connections becomes more intricate, and the truth lurks just out of reach. Investigators sift through reports of her past, hoping to find a clue that leads them closer to both Peter and Aileen. Their efforts feel like trying to assemble a jigsaw puzzle with missing pieces. Soon, this investigation will lead to a confrontation that no one is prepared for. The pieces are starting to fit together, but the reality of what they might uncover is daunting. In this web of disappearances and violence, the search for Peter seems, and the truth about Aileen Wuornos is just beginning. The shadows offer no comfort as detectives prepare for what lies ahead. Each moment spent searching for answers brings them closer to a revelation that could change everything. On a fateful day in August, the body of Troy Burris is found in a wooded area. This grim discovery adds yet another name to an already growing list of victims, leaving the community in shock. Burris, a delivery driver, had gone missing just days earlier while on the job. His loved ones were frantic with worry, unaware of the tragic fate that awaited him. The air was thick with anxiety as they hoped for good news that would never come. When the authorities received the call about the body, they rushed to the scene, each officer acutely aware of the seriousness of the situation. Upon arrival, they found Burris lying in the underbrush, far from the road. Sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a somber glow over the scene. Investigators quickly assessed the area, noting that the positioning of his body suggested he hadn't wandered off. The signs indicated something far more sinister. Burris had died from multiple gunshot wounds, adding another layer of tragedy to the fear gripping the community. Just days before his body was found, Burris's abandoned truck had raised alarm bells. Located at a nearby intersection, the vehicle stood as a reminder of his disappearance. Its presence ignited concern among those who knew him. The police understood the urgency of the situation. Each victim in this unfolding case had a story, and connecting those dots became increasingly critical. The weight of the investigation pressed down on detectives as they began to delve into Burris's life and the events leading to his vanishing. Investigators meticulously combed through the evidence, piecing together Burris's last known movements. Friends recalled how he often shared stories about his deliveries, known for his friendly demeanour and willingness to help others. Now, that warmth felt overshadowed by the brutality of his death. The community, once vibrant with laughter and camaraderie, was now gripped by fear. The realization that a killer was nearby left everyone on edge. As investigators worked diligently to gather more information, they began interviewing anyone who might have seen Burris in the days leading up to his disappearance. Witnesses were questioned, and every detail was examined. Did anyone see him making deliveries? Were there any unusual encounters? Each piece of information was crucial as they tried to create a timeline, attempting to make sense of the chaos that had erupted in their small town. It soon became evident that Burris was not an isolated case. His murder was part of a disturbing pattern that had begun to emerge. These killings were not random acts of violence, they were connected. Each victim had a story, and when each disappearance echoed the others, amplifying the fear within the community with every new revelation. Investigators noted that Burris's disappearance coincided with a rise in missing persons cases in the area. The realization that multiple victims existed sent shivers down their spines. In the weeks leading up to this discovery, several men had vanished, and now bodies were being found. The urgency escalated. Time was running out, and authorities knew they had to uncover the truth before more lives were lost. With Burris's body now part of this grim tally, the pressure on investigators mounted. They began to connect the dots between the victims. Names of other individuals surfaced in their research. Each man had met a tragic end, and the detectives were determined to find out who was behind these acts. But the locations of the bodies also raised concerns. Many were found in secluded areas, far from main roads. This suggested a level of planning and knowledge of the terrain that was unsettling. The deeper they dug, the more they realized they were dealing with someone skilled at evading capture. The thought of a predator lurking among them sent ripples of fear through the community, making neighbors wary of one another. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that local police needed help from higher authorities. They reached out to state and federal agencies, recognizing that the scale of this case was beyond their capabilities. This collaboration brought in new resources and expertise, but the grim reality remained. They were racing against time. The community's feeling is tangibly clear. People began altering their routines, staying indoors and avoiding areas where victims had last been seen. Parents warned their children to be cautious, and the sense of safety that once enveloped the town was shattered. The police, under immense pressure, faced the daunting task of restoring that security. Each discovery weighed heavily on investigators. They understood that every victim added to the pain felt by those left behind. Friends, family, and loved ones were searching for answers, and the detectives were committed to providing them. The stories of each victim began to merge into a larger narrative of tragedy and loss, one that the community would not soon forget. With one victim's death marking a turning point in the investigation, police knew they had to act decisively. The urgency was evident, and the stakes had never been higher. As they prepared for the next steps, one question loomed large. Who was behind these killings, and how many more lives would be affected before the truth finally surfaced? As the investigation continued, the community held its breath, waiting for answers. The search for a killer was only just beginning. A date in September, Florida, USA, a local man is reported missing, raising concerns about his safety. The missing man is reported, sending ripples of anxiety through his friends and family. They notice his absence almost immediately, sensing that something isn't right. Known for his dependable nature and regular communication, he rarely goes long without checking in. As hours slip by, initial concern morphs into deepening worry. His loved ones reach out to the police, voicing their fears for his safety and well-being. The urgency escalates, and officers begin to take their concerns seriously. Police respond quickly, understanding that every moment matters in missing person cases. They gather information about the man, his habits, daily routines, and last known whereabouts. Friends remember seeing him near an abandoned gas station, a detail that quickly becomes crucial for investigators. This once innocuous location now transforms into a key piece of the puzzle as they trace his final movements. The air feels heavy with tension as the search for answers kicks off. Local residents, shaken by the news, come together to aid the search. They share stories about the missing man, hoping that a memory might spark a clue or lead them to him. Each person recalls his kindness and laughter, the way he always lent a helping hand. Yet as time drags on, a nagging question lingers: what if something terrible has happened? The fear of danger lurking nearby sends chills through the community, amplifying their collective anxiety. As night falls, tension mounts. The missing man is well liked, and his absence weighs heavily on the community. Friends gather in small groups, exchanging worried glances and whispering about what could have gone wrong. The thought of him being in danger grows more unsettling. Meanwhile, police intensify their investigation, combing the area around the abandoned gas station for any signs of him. Every inch of the ground is scrutinized for clues. Officers canvass neighborhoods, knocking on doors to gather any information that might help. This search is not just about finding a missing man, it feels like a race against time. Each officer carries the pressure of responsibility, knowing their efforts could be the difference between life and death. They keep their radios close, hoping for a breakthrough that could change the course of the investigation. As darkness envelops the area, dread settles over the community. Friends huddle together, sharing their fears and anxieties, each trying to hold on to a glimmer of hope. However, as night deepens, the reality of the situation becomes increasingly grim. The sound of crickets fills the air, a sharp contrast to the tense atmosphere surrounding those waiting for news. It's a long, restless night, filled with unanswered questions, and the pressure of uncertainty presses down on everyone. Days pass, and the urgency of the search morphs into a desperate quest for clarity. Charles's friends can't help but wonder what might have happened. They continue to ask questions. Where could he have gone? Did he encounter trouble? The police remain active, but every hour feels like an eternity. They follow up on leads, yet nothing concrete emerges. Despair begins to take root among those who care about Charles. They gather in small groups, sharing concerns and hoping for a miracle. The local news catches wind of the story, broadcasting Charles's photo and details about his disappearance. The more eyes on the case, the better chance they have of finding him. But with each passing day, hope begins to fade, replaced by an unsettling reality. Amid the ongoing search, Charles's family clings to the belief that he will return. They refuse to accept the worst-case scenario. Holding on to cherished memories, they recall his warmth and the light he brought into their lives. Vigils are held, candles lit, and prayers offered for his safe return. The community comes together, with volunteers joining the search efforts and flyers plastered around town in hopes of bringing Charles home. Yet as days turn into weeks, questions multiply. What's happened to Charles Richard Humphreys? The search continues, but shadows of uncertainty linger over his friends and family. They exchange worried glances, hearts heavy with the fear that something may have occurred. Confronting the truth feels inevitable, and the grim reality grows more daunting with each passing moment. The police remain dedicated to the investigation, exploring every angle and detail that could provide a clue. The feeling of dread creeps into their work, as the community's hope hangs by a thread. The weight of the unknown feels suffocating, weighing heavily on both the police and those who care about Charles. Life continues around them, even as they seek answers to a growing mystery. Each day brings new challenges and the pressure mounts. The fear that something has gone wrong looms large, casting a shadow over the community. Soon, a confrontation with the harsh reality of the situation will be unavoidable. The search for Charles Richard Humphreys may not end as everyone hopes. Friends and family brace themselves for what's to come, knowing they will have to face the truth, whatever it may be. The uncertainty is unbearable, yet they cling to the hope of a resolution that feels increasingly out of reach. As the hunt goes on, the story of Charles Richard Humphreys takes a darker turn. Local residents remain on high alert, and the police are determined to uncover the truth surrounding his disappearance. The tension in the air thickens, leaving everyone wondering what will happen next. A body is discovered in a secluded area, just a day after he was reported missing. A passerby out for a stroll notices something amiss among the thick underbrush and immediately calls the police. When officers arrive, they find a grim scene. Humphreys lies lifeless. This shocking discovery sends ripples through the community, highlighting the brutal reality that yet another life has been violently taken. News spreads quickly, as it often does in small towns. Family and friends grapple with disbelief, mourning the sudden loss of a man known for his kindness and gentle spirit. He was the type of person who wouldn't hurt a fly, making the brutality of his death even harder to comprehend. Memories of his laughter and warmth flood their minds, leaving them with a painful sense of longing. What happened to him? Why did this occur? These questions hang heavy in the air, unanswered, as they struggle to make sense of the tragedy. As detectives dive into the investigation, they begin to gather clues that could lead them to the person responsible. They trace the victim's last known movements, piecing together the final hours of his life, in hopes of uncovering a lead that might unravel the mystery. Fear grips the community. There's a dangerous criminal on the loose, and each new piece of evidence heightens the urgency. With every detail uncovered, the need for swift action becomes clearer. They understand that time is of the essence to prevent further tragedies. In the days that follow, the search for answers intensifies. Police ramp up their efforts, urging the public to stay vigilant and report anything unusual. Flyers featuring the victim's photo and details about his disappearance are plastered around town, serving as stark reminders of the reality they face. The weight of the investigation hangs heavy on everyone involved, law enforcement and civilians alike. Residents find themselves looking over their shoulders, caught in a mix of fear and anger. The community feels unsettled, and pressure mounts for the police to find those responsible for this act and the other recent disappearances. As investigators dig deeper, they start to connect the dots between the victim and other missing persons. Each lead they pursue seems to point to a more concerning pattern. The thought that a serial killer may be targeting men in the area sends shivers through the locals. They can't shake the feeling that danger lurks not just in the shadows, but actively hunts. The police hold press conferences, seeking more information from the public. They stress the importance of community cooperation, urging anyone with knowledge to come forward. Media coverage highlights the growing body count and the urgency of the investigation. Families of the victims share their heartache, appealing for any tips that could lead to justice. Each story adds weight to the narrative, reinforcing the community's determination to find answers. As the investigation unfolds, the community holds its breath, collectively hoping for justice. They want to understand how someone could commit such acts. And who might be next? Fear intertwines with frustration, and the tension mounts as each day without answers feels like an eternity. The streets, once filled with laughter and life, now seem haunted as residents stay indoors, locking their doors a little tighter at night. Detectives continue to sift through evidence, interviewing witnesses and analysing data. They search for patterns, looking for any connections between the victims. Each name on the growing list of missing persons weighs heavily on their minds, pushing them to work faster. The clock is ticking, and every moment counts in the race against time to prevent another tragedy. The local diner, usually a bustling hub of chatter, here turns into a gathering spot for worried residents. Over cups of coffee, they discuss the latest news, sharing theories and concerns. The sense of community deepens in the face of fear, as people unite with the shared goal of finding answers. They offer support to one another, trying to heal in the aftermath of such violence. The stories of the victims are shared, their lives remembered, even as the search for the truth continues. As days turn into weeks, the pressure on law enforcement grows. The community's anxiety is undeniable. They yearn to feel safe again, to know that the threat has been addressed. Every siren wailing in the distance sends hearts racing, a grim reminder of their reality. They cling to hope, praying that justice will be served and that the person responsible for this violence will be caught before it's too late. Throughout all this, the detectives remain dedicated to their mission. They know that every piece of evidence could unlock the mystery surrounding the recent deaths and disappearances. The stakes are high, and the urgency is felt by everyone involved. With each step forward, they inch closer to the truth, but the path ahead is fraught with challenges. The community watches closely, their hopes pinned on the detectives' efforts. They want to understand what led to the loss of their loved ones and how to prevent it from happening again. The tension lingers in the air, a constant reminder of life's fragility and the darkness that can lurk just beyond the light. With each passing moment, the search for answers continues as the community stands together, united in their quest for justice and safety. On a chilly morning in November, Chief Walter Jano Antonio prepares to leave for a new opportunity. The air is crisp, and the sky is a blend of grey and blue, signalling the shift of seasons. He carefully packs his belongings, folding clothes and gathering essentials, while friends and family gather nearby. They wave goodbye, smiles on their faces, blissfully unaware that this would be the last time they see him. Antonio climbs into his vehicle, a sense of anticipation filling the space. He's off to embrace a new chapter in life, or so it seems. With dreams and plans swirling in his mind, he pulls away, leaving behind the familiar sights of his hometown. Each mile marker represents a step towards something hopeful. Yet, as days pass without any word from him, that excitement begins to fade. Worry starts to creep in. Friends begin to ask questions, wondering if he's simply busy or caught up in something. They recall his upbeat nature and how he always kept in touch, but as hours turn into days, the uncertainty grows heavier. The laughter and chatter about his departure give way to a growing concern that something is very wrong. His absence looms over their conversations, casting a shadow that darkens their initial excitement. As time passes, the worst fears come to light. In a remote area, Antonio's body is discovered. The shocking news hits local residents like a thunderclap. He had been shot multiple times, and the brutality of it leaves everyone reeling. Friends and family struggle to comprehend the loss, grappling with how someone so vibrant could meet such a tragic fate. Local authorities launch an immediate inquiry, all scrambling to piece together the details of Antonio's final hours. They comb through the area where he was found, searching for clues that might illuminate the circumstances surrounding his death. The once bustling neighbourhood is now shrouded in fear and confusion. How could a man leaving for a new opportunity end up in such a grim situation? As detectives delve deeper into the case, they uncover connections between Antonio and other recent disappearances. Each detail they find leads to more questions, heightening the urgency to solve the case. Neighbours grow anxious, the fear that a predator is lurking among them sending ripples of concern through the community. Friends and family gather to share memories, seeking solace in one another during this dark time. They recount stories of Antonio's kindness and laughter, remembering how he could light up a room. Those fond memories stand in sharp contrast to the reality of his death, making the loss feel even more profound. They search for answers, but the path to understanding remains elusive. Investigators continue their work, realizing that Antonio's journey might have taken a dark turn. They explore his route, the people he may have encountered, and the circumstances leading up to his disappearance. Each lead seems to draw them deeper into a web of tragedy that has ensnared multiple victims along Florida's highways. The quest for clarity is just beginning. With every new detail, the chilling realization sets in that Antonio is not alone in this grim fate. Local residents, once vibrant and safe, now feel like a place where shadows hide secrets. Our friends and family are left with more questions than answers, each one echoing in their minds. Who could do this? Why him? Days turn into weeks and the inquiry persists. Police work tirelessly, piecing together Antonio's last known movements and interviewing anyone who might have seen him. They examine traffic cameras, searching for signs of his vehicle, hoping to find a clue that could lead them to the truth. The sense of urgency is noticeably clear, as they know time is of the essence in solving this case. Meanwhile, neighbours hold their breath, waiting for news and hoping for justice. Local news outlets cover the story extensively, broadcasting updates and urging anyone with information to come forward. Flyers circulate and friends share posts on social media, determined to keep his memory alive while they seek answers. And as the investigation unfolds, connections between Antonio and other victims begin to emerge. Each discovery brings local residents closer to the dark truth hiding in plain sight. The timeline of events starts to weave a narrative as chilling as it is tragic. The fear gripping the community becomes a shared experience, uniting them in their quest for clarity. In the midst of this turmoil, Antonio's family clings to hope. They remember his laughter, dreams, and the life he was building. They refuse to let his memory fade and vow to continue fighting for justice. The neighborhood rallies around them, offering support and creating a network of solidarity in the face of overwhelming grief. As police continue their investigation, they remain determined to bring closure to Antonio's case and to those affected by the wave of violence sweeping through the area. They understand that every detail matters, and with each new lead, they inch closer to uncovering the truth. The quest for clarity is relentless, fueled by love, loss, and the desire for justice. While the journey may feel dark and uncertain, local residents stand united, ready to confront whatever comes next. They hold on to hope, knowing that together they can face the shadows threatening to overtake their lives. The story of Walter Jano Antonio is far from over. As the investigation continues, the next chapter awaits, filled with questions and the search for answers. Antonio's body is discovered in a wooded area. A group of local hunters, out enjoying a crisp fall morning, stumbles upon this scene while exploring the dense forest. Shock grips them as they call for help, their voices trembling with disbelief. This isn't just another day in the woods, it's a moment that will haunt them forever. When police arrive, the mood shifts dramatically. Officers assess the area, their expressions a mix of determination and grim acceptance. A body lies partially concealed among the trees, a chilling sight that sends shivers down their spines. The forest, once a peaceful retreat, now feels like a sinister backdrop for yet another tragedy. Leaves rustle in the gentle breeze, yet the quiet is broken by the grim reality of what has occurred. Investigators examine the scene closely, noting the gunshot wounds, each one a grim reminder of the violence that has unfolded along Florida's highways. The death adds yet another name to the growing list of victims. Nearby, they uncover evidence pointing to a disturbing pattern of disappearances linked to Aileen Wuornos, a woman whose troubled life had taken a dark turn. With each body found, the pattern of violence becomes clearer, sending chills through the community. As police begin to piece together the timeline leading to the death, reports reveal the individual left for another location just a day before the body was found. Friends and family are left reeling, grappling with the shock of losing someone they cared for in such a brutal manner. The community is engulfed in chaos, grappling with fear that lingers like a dark cloud, casting long shadows over their everyday lives. Families search for answers, their hearts heavy with concern. They gather in small groups, whispering among themselves, trying to make sense of the turmoil. How many more lives would be lost? How could someone commit such acts? The persistence of this tragedy will linger long after the news cycle moves on, leaving unanswered questions that hang in the air, raising concerns about safety and justice in their town. With each passing day of the investigation, police face the daunting task of identifying connections between the victims. They scour records, hoping to find more than just a thread tying them together. As they gather information, it becomes increasingly clear that these murders are not random. The pattern is unmistakable. Aileen Wuornos, once seen as a troubled woman seeking help, now emerges as a figure of fear and intrigue. In the days following the discovery of the body, local news media swarm the area. Reporters set up cameras and microphones, eager to capture the community's response. The sound of camera shutters clicking fills the air, capturing the somber faces of residents who feel the weight of the tragedy. Interviews reveal disbelief and anger, with many expressing outrage that such violence could occur in their quiet town. Police hold press conferences, urging anyone with information to come forward. They share details about the victims' last known movements, hoping to jog the memories of those who might have seen them. The community rallies together, holding vigils for the victims. Candles flicker in the night, casting a warm glow against the cold backdrop of grief. Each flame represents not just loss, but a call for justice, a plea for answers that seems to echo through the darkness. As the investigation unfolds, the reality of the situation grows more complex. Friends of Wuornos begin to speak out, painting a picture of a woman who has faced immense hardship. They describe her struggles, hinting at the circumstances that may have influenced her actions. The narrative shifts from one of pure villainy to a more nuanced understanding of a life marked by trauma. Meanwhile, law enforcement continues to work tirelessly to connect the dots. Detectives sift through evidence, trying to build a case that will hold up in court. Each new discovery adds layers to the story. As they delve deeper, they uncover more about Wuornos's life and the men she encountered while working along the highways. Each victim's story adds to the chilling narrative, revealing a pattern of desperation and violence. As days turn into weeks, the community remains on edge. Parents worry about their children's safety, and people start to avoid certain areas as rumours swirl. The fear of the unknown grips the town, leaving many feeling vulnerable. What would happen next? The hunt for the truth is far from over, and the implications of these findings weigh heavily on everyone involved. The investigation into one victim's death not only uncovers the dark reality of a serial killer on the loose, but also brings to light the struggles faced by those on the fringes of society. As police continue piecing together the puzzle, the community holds its breath, waiting for justice to be served. Each day brings new hopes for answers, but also the fear that more lives could be lost before the truth is finally revealed. Tension hangs in the air as the next steps in the investigation loom large. The hunt for Aileen Wuornos continues, and the stakes have never been higher. In early 1991, a key moment in the unsettling investigation occurs when Aileen Wuornos is arrested at a bar known for its dim lighting and rough crowd. The atmosphere inside is thick with tension as patrons sip their drinks, unaware that their evening is about to take a dramatic turn. Suddenly, police officers stride through the door, their presence commanding immediate attention. Conversations stop mid-sentence, and eyes widen as the officers make their way through the room, filling it with a sense of anticipation. Wuornos stands there, seemingly resigned to her fate. When the officers approach, she does not resist, a quiet acceptance reflecting her tumultuous life, filled with hardship. The sound of handcuffs snapping echoes through the bar, a grim reminder of the seriousness of the situation unfolding before everyone. As she is led away, the crowd exchanges nervous glances, some filled with disbelief, others with concern. Questions race through their minds. Is Wuornos the key to solving the mystery of the missing men, or is she merely another victim of her tragic circumstances? Outside, the flashing lights of police cars illuminate the pavement, casting an eerie glow that contrasts sharply with the darkening sky. Onlookers gather, their whispers filled with speculation about what this arrest means for their community. The air is charged with urgency as word of the event spreads quickly, stirring both fear and intrigue among residents. With Wuornos now a named suspect in a series of murders, investigators begin piecing together a timeline of events that might connect her to the victims. Friends and family of the deceased hold their breath, yearning for justice and answers. The community, once vibrant and lively, now finds itself overshadowed by fear and uncertainty, anxiously awaiting the next developments in this chilling saga. Investigators dive into Wuornos's past, uncovering a story marked by struggle and survival. Each detail adds layers to her character, raising more questions about her involvement in the murders. The timeline reveals a disturbing pattern. One victim's body was found just weeks prior, shot multiple times in a wooded area. His disappearance had left a deep sense of loss among friends and family who had desperately sought answers. Then there was another victim, discovered with multiple gunshot wounds, further intensifying the community's anxiety and grief. The highways of Florida, once seen as routes of opportunity, now carry a dark reputation. Wuornos had been working along these roads, and her connections to the victims raise serious concerns about her role in their tragic ends. The community grapples with the unsettling reality that someone among them might be responsible for these acts. As the investigation unfolds, the atmosphere remains tense. Parents worry about their children's safety, while friends of the victims hold vigils, seeking justice and closure. Media coverage heightens the urgency of the situation, with reporters eager to uncover the truth behind the string of murders. Flyers featuring the faces of the missing men are distributed as the community bands together to seek answers. Their unity, a small comfort in the face of growing fear. Days pass and the pressure mounts on investigators to uncover the truth. Wuornos's arrest offers a glimmer of hope, but lingering questions persist. What really happened to the missing men? What led to their tragic fates? The community leans in, eager for updates, their hopes intertwined with fear. In the interrogation rooms, detectives aim to extract crucial details from Wuornos about the victims. The tension is thick as they press her for information. Known for her troubled past, she presents a complex challenge for the investigators. Her life story is marked by hardship and survival, making it difficult to separate fact from fiction. Is she a cold-blooded killer, or a woman pushed to the brink by circumstances beyond her control? As the investigation unfolds, more connections between Wuornos and the victims come to light. The community watches closely, hoping for resolution. Each new detail adds to the chilling reality of what may have happened along those highways. The lingering questions remain. Who is behind these brutal acts? How many more lives will be affected before the truth surfaces? Aileen Wuornos' story is not just one of crime, it's a tale of survival, desperation, and the relentless pursuit of justice. As the investigation takes new twists, the community holds its breath, waiting for the next chapter in this saga. The search for truth continues, with Wuornos at its centre, her fate intertwined with the lives of those who have been lost. With the investigation intensifying, the community braces for what comes next. Will they find the closure they seek? Or will the shadows of fear continue to loom over them? The answers lie just ahead, waiting to be uncovered. The tension is far from resolved, and as the days unfold, each moment brings the community closer to the truth that has haunted them for far too long.